Okay, so we start again. Okay, welcome everybody. Ketzish Chanarch, the Abridged Code of Jewish Law, chapter 66, number 6. Okay, so we've been discussing Heta Iska. So what we did is the previous chapter, we learned that we can't charge interest or give interest to another Jew. And we discussed when it isn't considered interest and when it's problematic and when it's okay. One of the things that we said was that if it's structured as an investment, an iska, an investment, as opposed to a loan, then it's permissible to give the money, even though for practical purposes it's a loan. But as it's structured as an investment, it's okay, and that's called an iska. A heta iska means the permissibility to be able to do this iska, this investment. So we're up to number 6. And it says Nusach Shtar Iska. This is the text. So essentially, it's a sample. Obviously, it's the basic text how it is, but he's filled in names. So I think we'll just read in English, right? Essentially, I guess we'll call the undersigned, the one who's signing. I acknowledge that I received from, he's got a name here, it says Reb Reuven Horowitz of Ungevar, right? But wherever you got it from, the sum of 100 Austrian gold pieces as an Iska venture. All right. I'm not sure what Austrian gold pieces are worth today. That's when it was written, that was broken out. L'chatzi sham yonamata. And I've got this money
You
for
can
half
go
a
ahead.
year from the
Okay,
date
fine.
below.
Okay, so I can turn it off in there. That's
Yeah.
huh?
I forgot my sunscreen. I'm gonna go up and get it.
Okay, so I've got it for half a year from the date below. And I've obligated myself to purchase with this money any suitable merchandise that looks like it'll be profitable. And this ISCA funds will come before the hub priority over my personal funds for investment. Okay, so he's got this loan of 100 Austrian coins for 6 months, but it's structured as an investment. He's going to invest the money. Then continues the text. Any profits that Hashem will grant me from the merchandise will belong 1/2 to me, and 1/2 to this fellow Reuven. Similarly, if there'll be a loss, God forbid, it'll be shared equally. And immediately at the conclusion of the half-year term from the date below, I will be obligated to return to Reuven the principal as well as half of the profits. Right? I won't be believed to have any claim that I incurred a loss unless I can prove it through 2 qualified witnesses, 2 kosher Adim. With regard to profit, I also won't be trusted unless I take an oath. However, we've agreed between us that if I wish to give him in lieu of his profit the sum of 10 gold pieces, then he won't have any claim to make me swear anything else. All right. So and then any additional profits are on mine only. So again, we've structured as an investment. He's going to get half. However, we've set it up in a way that he's going to get the principal plus 10 gold pieces. So we're going to loosely call this a 10% interest loan, but it's, as we said, it's structured as an investment, so it's not a loan. And even if there's going to be a large profit, that's still much you get. How much he gets, we agreed to that. So just let someone in. And whenever we believe the holder of this document, so even after the payment's due, he'll be believed, as long as the money has not been repaid. They'll still be in my hands as an iska, as this investment with these terms. And I have received payment, a salary, compensation for my work, meaning the work in investing his funds. And then they sign it and date it, and then there's two witnesses who also sign it. So that's the basic structure. So as we said, the basic structure is if it's structured as an investment, he's giving money to invest. He has to pay the person for managing the funds, and then he gets part of the profit. Or if they wish, which is pretty much what they do, it's how they give a set fee. So although de facto he's giving a loan with 10% interest, it's structured in a way that's not there. And as we've explained till now, the reason that we allow this loophole, when we all know it's really a 10% interest loan, is because we can't allow the economy to stall. Right? People won't have money to invest in businesses. People won't be able to expand businesses. People won't be able to set up businesses. And there'll be recession and etc. So that's what we do. Okay, number 7. Imashad the chukah. They're very short of time. He needs the money now. And it's not possible to write this document. I mean, today, you just get them standard on the computer, you fill it out, print it out, fill in the blanks, or you can fill in the blanks with your name, on the screen, and it prints it all out. It's very quick. There are a few websites where you just enter your name, the date, the amount, and it makes it for you. It's so it's quite quick today. It's going to be quicker than doing. We're going to give a what their alternatives are. Today it can probably be quicker than that. But when it had to be handwritten, so if they didn't have time, they can make an oral agreement to everything. They may have to, they may decide that it's going to be written down at another time, but they can say, they make all these agreements verbally. As long as they have witnesses, again, you don't want to give money without witnesses, but as long as the witness, no problems. Okay. Number 8. Now, so this heta iska allows us to give the loan. We're going to discuss another form of iska, or another. So again, as we said, the heta iska really is a loophole. We structure the loan as an investment, and it's one. So we mentioned in the previous chapter another issue. We said you can't give advance payment for merchandise. So I pay today for you to deliver the merchandise in 3 months. Right? Can't do that because it could go up in price. And you don't have any right now. It could go up in price. And so I'm giving $300 now. And when you pay me, the amount that I bought is now worth $320. So essentially what happened is I gave you $300 for your use for 3 months. In exchange, you gave me $320 of merchandise, interest. So rabbinically, that's not allowed. But there are going to be times where you need to advance order. Again, we don't want we're concerned about the economy stalling. We want to be able to allow people to do this when it's legit. The problem is when people were just trying to get out of paying interest. They wanted to pay interest, so they're going to structure it that way. But sometimes there's legit cases. People really they need to advance order. And if you want to actually get it, like just now, in the yeshiva, that we started over here, Oh, Shem, a nice yeshiva. And we ordered a set of books. So the publisher advertised, they said, they're going to do a mass shipment, right? And so you order now, you pay now, essentially. You pay now. And however many orders they get, the plan to get above a certain amount of orders. And they can do a mass printing and it'll be cheaper, right? But you have to order a few months in advance. So it's a legitimate case, right? Rather than buying it off the shelf, you'll be part of this shipping, this printing and shipping, and it'll be a cheaper way to do it. So this is legitimate. So how do we do it? So number 8, in makdim mois al schor. If someone pays for produce or product in advance, then this also should be done with a heta iska, and there's a different form. Okay, so again, I think we'll just read through in the English. I'll just read English. I mean, I'm reading the Hebrew, but I'll just translate it. It's a slightly different form, just so we understand. It says, I, the undersigned, admit, I acknowledge that I received. He's got a different name now from this Reuben Weinstock of Ungvar, but whoever the person is, the sum of 100, again, Austrian gold pieces, to engage in a business venture in the distillery to which I hold the rights in the village of Zahn, wherever that is, until Rosh Chodesh, the coming Rosh Chodesh Nisan, should come to us with a blessing. Right. Now, the portion of profits that results from this investment, after I deduct my expenses, should belong one half to me and one half to Reb Ruvain. And the same chas v'shalom, God forbid, if there's any loss, we're going to split it. Now, immediately, once it's Rosh Chodesh Nisan, I'll be obligated to return to this Reb Ruvain the principal as well as his portion of the profits. I won't be trusted to say that I had a loss unless I can prove it through the testimony of 2 kosher witnesses. With regard to profit, I also won't be trusted unless I take an oath. However, we've agreed between us that if I want, then Rosh Chodesh Nisan, I can give this Reb Ruvain in lieu of the principal and his portion of the profit, the amount of 5 measures, 5 midas, whatever that thing, so spirits. So really, essentially, so what he's done is he's paid for the alcohol in advance, right? I'm going to use the money to brew it, and we structured as an investment. So because what's worth $300 now, the prices can fluctuate. When it's brewed, it could be it's much more, so it'd be considered interest. So we structured it as an investment to make it permissible. And then he'll have no further claim against me if I give him the 5 measures of spirits. And essentially he'll be believed even after the payment is due. And I have received payment, a compensation for my work. So again, he signed, the 2 people who signed it, it's dated it, and the signatures of 2 witnesses. Right, so the same idea. He's prepaid for the merchandise, but we set it as a investment. So there's no concern of interest. Okay, number 9. All right. What we're going to discuss is as follows. Now, this Heta Iska, although the contract, we set it up as a investment, for all practical purposes, it's a loan. Because in the end, I'm not going to take half the profits. I'm going to take the other payment. So, if we go back to the one we said, number 6, I'm giving him 100 gold pieces, and when it's due, he's going to give me 110. Okay. Now, let's say there's a person who wants to lend this, he's going to lend the money this way. Yes, we'll set up as an investment, so it's not a ribis, interest problem. But I also want to make it legal in United States. So, am I able to, either in the same note or in a different document, can I set it up legally as a loan in American law or wherever we happen to live? Right? So some of us are in the state of Florida, right? So it's not only federal laws and these things, there's also state laws. So can we, we'll make a heta iska al pi halacha, according to halachically valid investment thing. But can I also, to protect my investment, I want to make sure I'm getting paid back. Can I also make a document that makes it a legal loan in the state of Florida or wherever we happen to be? Does that invalidate my investment loophole? That's what we're going to discuss. Can I do that? And if so, under what circumstances? Okay, so number 9. So the investor wants the guy is giving it to give him shtar choy poshet, a regular promissory note. Right? So it's an IOU. An IOU, essentially, it's going to be a promissory note. I owe you $100 or $110. So that's going to be the amis gechayka medina that has the strength, right? In other words, it goes according to the law of the land. Why does he want to do that? That if the guy who got this loan, this investment that's structured as a loan, either won't pay or dies, God forbid, he can easily collect through the secular courts. So that's what he wants to do. He wants to get some type. So on the one hand, he has to structure this loan as an investment. On the other hand, he wants to make a regular loan document that's valid legally civilly in the place where he lives, so he can collect. He wants both worlds. So what are we going to tell him to do? The Shabbat pe'hein nastim shamois hazeh hu b'toras iska. Now, they're saying orally, they're agreeing orally that these funds have been given as an iska, in other words, an investment. Loy mahani, then this isn't effective. It doesn't help him avoid the issue of ribis, of interest. Right? Because once you make this document that says what you're doing is a loan, it doesn't help you. Right? If your sole contract is the heta iska, then it works. But if you have this contract that it's structured as a loan, then you've just destroyed your loophole and you've made it effectively back a loan. And then you have an interest. Now, this is going to be problematic not only if the whole thing is in this promissory note, even if I make the promissory note only for the principal. Right, so I lend him $100. They'll invest $100. Heta iska. I'm getting back 120 as my payment for investing. Even if I only make a promissory note for the 100, I've also messed it up, because you can't structure it as an investment and simultaneously structure it as a loan, because then it's just a loan. Why? Because since with this contract, this promissory note that he had in his possession, he can collect all the funds invested. I feel im have to borrow, then even if there would be a definite loss, he could collect the money. So therefore, it's also it's forbidden. It's prohibited. So you can't have your cake and eat it as well, essentially. Either we have to structure this loan as an investment, in which case it technically is not a loan, so we can give the money and get the principal and extra money back, or you do it as a loan, in which case you can't charge interest. It's one or the other. But now, even if the person trusts the investor for Adam Chassid, and he's a very pious man. In other words, you know that he's not going to come and collect with this unless it's an emergency, the guy dies or something, It still doesn't help. Because, as we said, you can't eat your cake and eat it too. Either it's an investment or it's a loan. Even if you give him the investment document as well. And you even write that the funds in the promissory note are really just an iska, an investment. Gam money, it still doesn't help. Why? What's the problem now? The Ikala were worried Shemanoisin or Yershov that perhaps the investor or his heirs, Yalimo Achikach as a star iska, they will conceal, they'll hide away the investment document, and they'll collect with the promissory note. And there's no permissible way to do this when you get an extra payment. The only possible way to do this is if we deposit this iska, the investment document, with a third party, a trustee. Or if the investor personally signs the investment document, and then it's kept in the other person has it in possession. Or when they write the promissory note, it's only obligates the person to pay in the way that the iska document is. Right? So you essentially say we're making a loan on condition, it has the following conditions, what's in this attached document. Or at least when they designate the witnesses, they designate people who will testify, and they designate them to do this, that this promissory note is really an iska document. So these last few cases, even if the promissory note is for both the not only the principal but also the extra, it's acceptable. So to summarize number 9, we've made a appropriate iska document, structuring the loan as an investment and not a loan. But we want to make a civil document that will aid collection if for some reason the person doesn't pay or if he passes away, you want to get from his estate. So it'll work if your civil document does not contradict, we'll say, does not overrule the investment. It doesn't make it back to a loan. If it's structured in a way that it makes it back into a loan, that's problematic because essentially we have a loan here that's and there's interest on this loan. But if we can structure it in a way that it's not going to contradict or change it, so for example, we say, I owe this money on the conditions that are contained in this attached document, right, which is the Heta Iska, then it's not a problem. Okay, any questions on that? Little bit complicated, but well, clear? I hope it's all clear. All right. Number 10. Okay. Da eskelo mahani lahate ela im emes kainho. Heta iska only works if it's the truth. Right? So it can't just be, yes, I'm taking a loan. I'm taking a loan. Okay, we have to make this document to make it kosher. Okay, good. It doesn't work that way. It's not only that we structure it as an investment, that actually really has to be the deal. So this heta iska, this structuring a loan as investment, only works if you're really doing it. That this person is going to take these funds and invest them in a business venture. So it's an excellent way to have a business loan. But if he doesn't want it for a business venture, rather, I'm borrowing money because I want to get a better rate, pay off some debts. I want to pay off my mortgage. What do I want to do? Then it doesn't help. Give it to a sheker because it's just not true. You're saying I'm borrowing this money to invest. I'm going to give them the share of the profits. Well, I'm not investing. It's not true. So it doesn't work. But sometimes it can. Right? Just we said it doesn't work. Now comes the loophole. We could make it work if we do the following. We do another twist on it. Let's give an example. Ruvain needs money. Why does he need money? And he has some merchandise, even if it's somewhere else. He can sell it to Shimon, even at a very low price. With the provision that the option, Reuben has an option. What's his option? That if he doesn't hand over the merchandise by a certain date, he will pay a higher price to Shimon for it. So he can get a reasonable profit. Right. So Reuven needs money. Reuven has product. He sells it to Shimon for a low price, agreeing that if he doesn't give it over by a certain date, he's going to pay more. He's going to pay him for the delay. Shimon, you think the Reuven is moist, and now Shimon gives him the money. So what happens is, I sell my table, so to speak, or whatever it is, my car, whatever I happen to sell, my produce, and he gives me $1,000. Right? We make a acquisition, an act of acquisition, the kiyama mekach, to validate the sale. The haino shim lekech, you think sas from begdor, the Ruvain shizat boy, right? So the purchaser gives to Ruvain, the seller, a piece of clothing or something. He holds it, he lifts it. And through this act, he acquires the merchandise from Ruvain. This is even if there's no witnesses, this works. Now the merchandise is now the responsibility of the purchaser, meaning, if it burnt down, it's his problem. So what we have here is not a loan, but a transaction. So what we've done, instead of structuring this loan as a investment, we've structured it as a sale. Right? As a sale. So I've now sold you whatever. And then what happens is we've agreed that if I don't give you the product by a certain date, I'm going to have to give you back the money plus more because you couldn't make profit on what I was selling you. So you gave me $1,000, and if I don't give you my car by, the 12th of March, I give you $1,200. We wanted to have a loan. We can't do a loan with interest. So we structured it as a sale. Okay. Number 11. Now the same thing applies when Ruvain owed money to Shimon. It comes the due date. I have to pay today. But I don't have the money. There's pasher, and so what we do is we make some type of compromise. What's the compromise? Shimon yamtim le'ezesman. Shimon's going to wait another month, let's say, for another set time. So here too, we have to have an iska document, right? Because there's no new money being invested. So I'm getting gain out of the money. So we do the same thing. I sell, so to speak, some merchandise in the way that we mentioned above. And then Shimon returns the promissory note. So what happens like this? I owe $1,000, a straight loan, right? But I can't pay it. So what they want to do is give me a late fee. But you can't do that. It's ribis. So what do? Is I sell him something for $1,000.
Testing.
All right. And he gives me back the promissory note. The loan's over. But we do the same conditions we had before.
Testing.
Yeah, we're here. Yeah. So the same conditions as before, that now if I don't give the merchandise by a certain date, I have to pay him his profit that he missed out on because I didn't provide the merchandise. So that's how we pay the late fee. Okay. Number 12. Slightly different type of investment. What happens is a Jew gives another Jew an animal to raise. And what's the plan? Right? So a baby sheep is worth, I don't know, let's say $50.
Rabbi, yes,
And he's gonna raise the animal. He's gonna do all the work. He's gonna feed it and look after it. And then when it comes an adult, we sell it for $250. Right? And we're gonna split the profit. That's the plan. So dinoi kamoish noslomois bisko. We have to structure this the same way as if I gave him money. So we evaluate the animal, what it's worth, and it's as if I gave him that much money for the business venture, the same way as if I just gave him a loan. So we set up the same way, we use the same type of contract, and that's how we do it. Okay. That's loans. Any questions? No? Okay.
Did you say my microphone is now
Your
working?
mic's working, yeah.
Okay, Baruch Hashem. Okay, thank you.
No problems. Okay, Simon Samach Zayin, chapter 67. So Hilchas Nadarim Shavuos. The laws of Nadarim and Shavuos. Now, we're going to often translate Nadarim and Shavuos. Both of them are translated in various places as promises or vows or oaths. And what you'll find is different translators will decide one's a vow and one's an oath. But I think all these words in English overlap a lot. The big difference between a neder and a shavua is a neder is on an object, generally, and the shavua is on himself. But really what we're talking about is any commitment promise or a pledge, something that a person obligates himself to do or prohibits himself to do something. Right? So a neder makes an object, or shavua. So I'll give an example. So let's say a person makes a neder that he's not going to eat this loaf of bread. The neder didn't change him; it changed the bread. It made the bread into non-kosher for him. He's prohibited to eat the bread. It took effect on the loaf of bread. But a shavua, if he swears that he's not going to eat the bread remains kosher. He is the one who's not allowed to eat it. So often there's no practical difference, but sometimes there is. Right? So that's a ned and a shavua. So the first thing he does before he even tells us anything is al tiragel b'nedarim. People should not be in the habit of making nedarim. Not only that, kol hanoida ki'ilu boina bama. Someone who makes a neder, it's like he built a bomber, a personal altar, which is not appropriate. B'shas issa bombers, in a situation like today, where you're not allowed to do that. So, the first thing we're saying is that a person just shouldn't do it. It's a big problem. This is why also we're very careful about this. People, when they make commitments, try to say bli neder, that it shouldn't be a neder, shouldn't have the force of a neder. Before Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Kippur, we try to nullify any neder that we've forgotten about, or we didn't realize that we made a neder. We made a neder unintentionally. All of these things, because we don't want to have this hanging over our necks, unfulfilled commitments. So it's something that we really just try and avoid, even if
Rabbi?
you're 100%. Yeah.
Does it have to be bilateral to disavow the the neder? I mean, especially before Yom Kippur, does it have to be bilateral? Both parties have to try to remove themselves from that vow?
And it depends what it was. Meaning, usually I don't have the power to make something on someone else or someone else's property. Because it's not mine. I can only make something prohibited to me, or either I can't have it or it is prohibited to me. So usually these things don't involve anyone else. But in concept, what they do, so let's say for an example, a person said he's going to make whatever commitment, and it's dependent on the shul, everyone in the shul. So, in other words, he's not going to come in. It needs everyone else to agree. So since he involved them in it, then they have to then they have to be part of undoing it. But generally speaking, others aren't involved. Okay. Is that clarify for you?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
No problems. So person should not get in the habit. It only makes problems. So even if you're 100% committed, it's a good cause. I want to give stock to this cause. I'm committing myself. I'm pledging. Always we should say bli neder. Right? So without the force of a neder. Vakimel, the kind of someone who fulfills the neder. It's like he brought a sacrifice on this altar. In which case, if a person really brought a sacrifice on this illegal altar, he has shechted outside the Beis Hamikdash an offering, and he is liable. So even though you kept your word, but since you made a neder and fulfilled it, it's like you did that. It's much better to try and seek annulment, and have it permitted for him. Now, when does this apply? That it's better to annul your neder. B'shan nedarim. This is literally means other vowels, but it means things that affect you. It's personal stuff. Well, nidre hektish, but some made a neder to make something hektish. He's dedicated. For example, when the Beis Hamikdash is rebuilt today, Mitzvah, he says, "I'm going to give this animal. I'm dedicating this animal as my offering." Then mitzvah l'kaimim. Then it's a mitzvah to fulfill his neder. Shneimah says, "Neder l'Hashem Shalom." A neder, a vow for like a better translation, that's to Hashem. You should do, meaning lo yishal lehim. You shouldn't try and seek annulment. El b'shas chak. Unless, it's a difficult situation, you have unexpected situations, you have different things. So that's the first thing. People should not make vows. And if they make a vow, they make a neder, they should actually try and have it annulled. It's not a good thing. It only leads to problems. Number two, similarly, Israch min a person should stay away from shavus, from oaths, swearing. So if he violated though, and he swore about something, he shouldn't seek annulment. Rather, should keep his oath. Should keep what he swore to. Even if it causes him suffering. Shema says, one can swear to his detriment without retracting. And then it says, and it says, and these people never fall, they never stumble. So a person should only try and seek annulment on a shavua if it's a very pressing situation.
Rabbi,
Right. Yeah.
can this also be done? Is it implied or orally? I know. Can these both be released, whether it's verbal or implied?
Yeah,
In
what
other
do you
words,
mean by implied?
without verbal agreement, a verbal neder or shvua being mentioned. In other words, if it's just if somebody gives somebody some money and it's there's an implied situation without anything being said verbally.
So if you give someone money as a loan, they're obligated to pay you back as a loan. It's got
Not
nothing to do with a
alone
neder, a shavua.
necessarily. Not alone necessarily. Somebody holds your money for you, and that person takes it. He's going to hold it, but there's no verbal
Okay, so
agreement.
that person, so that's not considered his obligation to pay back that money is not a neder or shavua. That obligation is, they in the halakha term is a shomer. We're going to loosely call it a watchman, but it means anytime you deposit something by someone, by another person, a third party. So that person has different obligations. Depends whether he's being paid to watch it or he's doing it voluntarily, or if you made any conditions. But anytime someone takes something, it's not necessarily to do with it's not this law of neder shavua. It's a different law. If he says he lost it or something, he may have to make a shavua that he didn't really take it himself. But that in itself, the fact that he has to pay it back is not because that obligation is not this obligation.
So the person that this is done with, you have to know them very well, and you have to really have trust in that person before you do that kind of a
You deposit
transaction.
something with them, or you have a document
I say.
or witnesses. Witnesses don't always help because just because he gave in front of witnesses doesn't mean he has to give it back in front of witnesses. So, yeah. Now there's different types of shavua. So there's a shavua, a person swears he's going to do something. There's a shavua that person swears when they give a certain testimony, different things sometimes. And also certain times in court, monetary situations, they have evidence, but not conclusive evidence. So it's enough evidence we should theoretically believe them, but it's not enough to really make the other guy pay. So we add a shavua as well. He has to swear. It's not the type of shavua we're talking about. And the court says, when the court instructs someone to make shavua, which is very, very rarely done nowadays. But when they do, person should probably take it. But it's a problem. A person just starts swearing willy-nilly. It's problematic. There were many people in times past when they did swear in court in Beis Din that because swearing is such a serious issue, they'd rather have to pay or miss out on getting the money than to swear, even though they're in the right. It's and I'm not saying that people necessarily should do that. Depends on the circumstances. It's yeah. Okay, number 3. Person should be very careful not to make a neder about anything. But feel a tzedakah ain't tov lidoy. Even a commitment to give tzedakah shouldn't make this vow, this neder. Ella, so what should he do? Im yeshel biyadoy, if he's got the money on hand, just give it. Don't commit, don't pledge. You pledge $100, you got $100 in your pocket, give him $100. Yitemiyad, immediately give it. If you don't have it right now, better yamtim ad wait until you have the amount, and then just give it without taking the neder. Okay, now, but if sometimes you can't do that. You know, they're asking you for a commitment. So if people are pledging tzedakah, and you have to pledge with them, Yom Beferish, you should articulate clearly the following words. Posek b'li neder. I am pledging without the status of a neder. Yep, I'm giving this amount b'li neder. Likewise, by Yizka or Kalman Rachamim, they're mentioning the souls. Shnorim the tzedakah, where the custom is that we donate to tzedakah. Shloima b'li neder. You should say you're doing it b'li neder. Imhu be'et sarah, mutalo neder. Now, if a person is going through a difficult situation, he is allowed to make a neder. Right? So this might be a person, you have some people who are, I'm going to give an extreme example. Let's say a person is a recovering alcoholic, let's say. So he might make a neder, he's not going to drink. To strengthen himself, or going through difficult situations. So he'll make a neder that he's going to do this for Hashem, in exchange for whatever. So in difficult situations, person's allowed, but under normal circumstances, it should be avoided.
Rabbi, could I ask you another question?
Yeah, sure.
If in that case, what you just said, the alcoholic, if the alcoholic creates a neder with another partner and says, unconditionally that the other person who holds the alcohol for that person, that that guy never wants to drink again, and the other guy says, okay, I'm never going to give you this drink again. Are they both together in that neder?
No, because your neder can't affect someone else. He can make his own neder, but you can't make a neder on someone else. So let's try and make it practical. So just before we give this example, the alcoholic, there was a fellow that I knew. He was in he had rather serious health conditions, and he had to avoid, sweet foods and different things. And one of the local good causes had a Chinese auction, the fundraiser. And at the fundraiser, there were 100 different types of cheesecake. Now, this guy just adores cheesecake. Now, even though he knew that he might kill himself if he indulges in the cheesecake, he did not have the self-control. So what did he do? He went home and he ate a piece of pastrami. And he came back. And because he was fleshik, he was able to not eat the cheesecake. So that making a Torah prohibition on himself, or a religious prohibition upon himself, this is what kept him straight. So this is the example of the alcoholic. They say, even though he knows he can't, if he has once, he's going to relapse, but he won't be control himself. So it makes it a neder, becomes just like you can't eat the cheesecake after you eat the pastrami. And that gives him the strength. So if this person makes a neder that he's not going to have it, and someone else, the example that you gave, the guy said, and I won't give it to you. That guy's making his own neder. That's irrelevant of mine. So circumstances change, and now I could have, and so I could annul my neder perhaps. It's irrelevant whether his neder is annulled or not, because I've got nothing to do with him, he's got nothing to do with me. The only situation where it might make a difference is let's say a person made a neder to be a nazir, let's say, right? Which, by the way, please don't anyone ever do that, because you can never get out of it till we bring offerings to the Beis Mikdash. But let's say someone made a neder, and the guy says, his friend who hears it says, "Oh, and I'm going to be a neder, I'm going to be a nazir just like you, or the same way you are." And then the first guy gets his annulled, it could be the second guy gets annulled as well, because he didn't do it independently himself. He made his dependent on the first guy's. So then someone's neder could be dependent on someone else. But generally speaking, doesn't matter. The guy says, and I also this or I also that. That's his own separate neder. That's his business, and mine is my business. Did that clarify for you?
Yes, Rabbi, thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, so we're out of time for today. So wish everyone a wonderful week, wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Very welcome.
Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Take care. Bye.